Hey guys, it is Carly here, bringing you episode number 12 of my entire horror movie collection. I got some days off of work here, so I figured it would be the best time to try to shoot more of these out. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep on going, and we are still on the Blu-rays. So going right where we left off, we have Children of the Corn Genesis. This is one that I actually got in the horror pack, forget which month, but Children of the Corn, it's a franchise that I have not seen all the movies in. I know some of them are pretty bad, but I've only seen part 1, 2, 3, the remake, and then this movie, I believe. So, yeah, I've kind of, watched them kind of all over the place, and I will end up watching all of them one day eventually, but for this one, this is definitely one that didn't feel very much like a Children of the Corn movie, but I still found it to be pretty entertaining and had a decent story and decent acting in it. I don't remember it a whole lot, but I do remember not thinking it was all that bad. The only bad thing about it is that it just does not feel like a Children of the Corn story, kind of like how the Hellraiser sequels don't really feel like Hellraiser movies, so that's the only real flaw with this one. I thought it was a pretty, solid horror movie in general. Next up, we have Child's Play. I love Child's Play. It's one that I don't rewatch a whole lot, but it is one that I used to watch quite a bit when I was younger, but now I don't go back to it a lot. I did see it in a drive-in last year, I believe, and that was a really cool experience. It just made me grow a whole new love for the film, and yeah, this is just a, classic film that I do really enjoy. Just don't rewatch it as much as I rewatch some other movies. After that, we have Deathgasm. I had heard good things about this one. I think I got this in horror pack as well, and the night I watched it, I just really wasn't in the mood for this type of a film. It's kind of a heavy metal type of movie, very based in that, and don't remember it a whole lot. I know I wasn't paying as much attention to it as I should have, and I do want to go back and rewatch this one because I know a lot of people thought it was a really good movie, so I do want to rewatch it. I just really wasn't in the mood for it when I chose to watch it originally. After that, we have The Descent. I thought this was a fantastic movie. It actually had some pretty scary moments to it, and the only issue I really had with this one was it's an all-female cast, and, they're all kind of going, I forget what they call it, but, they're going into rocks and whatever, searching down into the earth, doing a descent, if you will, but I forget what the term is for that, but anyway, they're all kind of dressed the same, and they all look the same, and I kind of mixed up some of the characters in it, but other than that, I thought it was a pretty solid horror film. I thought it was just, had its scary moments, and definitely one that I would like to rewatch because I've only seen it once. After that, we have Devil's Due. I got this one in the horror pack as well, and this is one that I didn't think I had seen before, but when I went and watched this Blu-ray of it, it was weird because a lot of it looked familiar, so it might have been on at a friend's house one day, and I just didn't see the whole movie all the way through, but I definitely remembered some elements to it. But anyway, it's a pretty average sort of movie. I believe it's kind of found footagey, and it's not that bad, though. Honestly, I thought it was going to be pretty terrible and generic, and it is a little bit generic, but I didn't think it was that bad. Definitely more of a comfort movie, if anything else. Then we have The Devil's Rejects. Bought this for JP, actually, for, I believe it was his birthday, because he always talked about how he never had this on Blu-ray. So I went ahead and bought it out of the kindness of my heart for him, and he got a screener or something like that of the movie because he gets everything. So good for you, JP. But anyway, in all seriousness, I decided to just keep this for myself. I did own it on DVD, but I passed the DVD on to my mom, and I think this is a fantastic movie as well. It's one that kind of grew on me over the years because back when I first saw it, I thought it was a little too brutal, but as time went on, I saw how just great this film is, and I am excited for the new movie that's supposed to come out. Don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I'm still excited for it because I do like the characters in this film quite a bit. After that, we have Dull. I really enjoyed Dull. Great road horror movie. I really love road horror in general, and I remember saw this one probably when I was 10 or so. My mom showed it to me. I don't think she had ever seen it before either, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think she liked it as much as me, but I found it to be really enjoyable. I just love how you're following just one character throughout the movie, and they do, creative things to make it interesting, because when you really think about it, it's just one guy getting chased down by some mysterious trucker, and that's all you really get. So I think they really do a good job in this movie of making it entertaining with like sort of internal dialogue that you hear from the man throughout and things like that. So really enjoyed Duel. Then we have Excision. We did a review of this one on Woodsboro Bros podcast. This was my pick for the underrated episode that JP and I guest starred on Woodsboro Bros, and I absolutely love Excision. I only seen it 2 times, but the first time I saw it, I was blown away by it, and it was one of those ones that I thought about days and even weeks after watching it, just based on the ending alone. I just think it is such a solid movie. It definitely has more of a coming-of-age drama feel to it than horror, but there are definitely horror elements in it, especially once you get towards the ending. And yeah, this is one that, I didn't know if it was going to hold up as much on second watch, but it definitely did, and I absolutely just love it. It could be, go in a list of one of my favorite horror movies of all time, honestly, if I'm being completely honest. Not in the top 10, but somewhere in the top 20 perhaps. So yeah, this is one that I will continue to rewatch over time, but yeah, definitely a solid film that I highly recommend if you have not seen it before. After that, we have Friday the 13th, the original movie here. Just picked this one up back when I was trying to collect the entire Friday franchise, and JP recently gave me the entire, original 8 films, the Blu-ray set that they came out with, so I don't really have any use for this anymore, but yeah, I did buy it just to kind of complete my Friday the 13th collection that I had at the time, and I really like Friday the 13th. I know a lot of people don't like the first movie as much as the sequels, but I actually am a big fan of the first movie, and it's honestly one of my favorites in the franchise, so yeah, love that movie. Then we have Crystal Lake Memories here. This is a fantastic documentary just on all of the Friday movies in general, and they get a good amount of people to come back and talk about each of the movies, and I found this to be very entertaining. I think it's like about 4 hours long, so you definitely have to watch it in 2 or 3 sections. I know I watched the first part of it one day and then the second part the next day, but I thought this was very interesting, especially because I really like the Friday franchise. I know that Nightmare on Elm Street also has a really good documentary that I recently bought, and I don't like that franchise as much, so I'm not sure if I'm going to love it as much, but I hear it's a little bit better than this one, but in my opinion, this was pretty solid. Then we have Fright Night 2. Got this one in the horror pack also, and unfortunately I've never seen the first Fright Night. This is the sequel to the remake, actually, so when I say I've never seen the first Fright Night, I mean the first Fright Night as in the remake, and I watched this one night and kind of fell asleep while watching it, so this is honestly probably, arguably, next to 30 Days a Night, one of the only movies in my collection that I can honestly say I've never watched all the way through fully or paid fully attention to, unfortunately, so definitely one I'll have to rewatch, and it was kind of stupid to watch it anyway since I never saw the first one to this movie, so I would probably have to pick up that remake before going back and revisiting this one. So what I did see, though, in general, it didn't seem like that bad of a movie, but, we'll see. After that, we have Frozen, Adam Green's Frozen. This is probably my favorite Adam Green film that I have seen personally. It's a very contained horror movie. Takes place almost entirely on the top of a ski lift where you have these 3 characters who get, stuck there over the weekend, I believe, or the week, I think it might be, and, just a very horrifying situation. It looks just miserable. I hate being cold, personally. I'd much rather take the heat, but, these people just look freezing throughout the movie, so those type of situations always kind of get to me because, I complain if it's a little bit cold, and then these people are stuck up there in the middle of winter, so I think it's just horrifying and, pretty depressing in some parts as well, so really like Frozen. Then we have Galaxy of Horrors. I didn't care for this all that much. I'm not really into, sci-fi-ish type of space things. Not all the stories. The stories, it's an anthology type of movie, and the stories aren't all the same or anything like that, but just not really my cup of tea because they are mainly sci-fi stories, and I just wasn't a big fan. There were about 2 or 3 shorts in it maybe that I did enjoy, but for me, I just didn't really care for this too much. I know a lot of people did seem to like this one from what I've seen and heard at least, so, I'm not knocking it or anything like that. It's just not for people who aren't really into sci-fi, I would say. After that, we have Grace. I forget who actually made this movie. I know Adam Green kind of has something to do with it, but I forget the story behind it exactly, but really enjoyed this movie. It's got a lot of sort of gross moments in it that are just, to do with blood and things like that, and it's, a baby horror story, and I really like horror movies I find that are based on pregnancies and babies because, being a woman, that freaks me out. I don't really want kids myself, and I don't ever want to be pregnant, let alone when I see horror movies that kind of depict that, so, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It had a pretty solid story to it, and some pretty, nasty moments that made me kind of squeamish in a way. Then we have Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, the unrated producer's cut. This is actually, fun trivia, the first Blu-ray I ever bought. I bought this along with Lords of Salem Steelbook, and, back when I first got my first Blu-ray player, so this was one of the 2 movies that I chose to pick up because I was very curious about this cut. I didn't really know about it until later in life that this was a thing, so I really wanted to check it out, and a lot of people say that they like it better than the original Halloween 6, and I gotta say I have to side with the original Halloween 6 over this film, but it's definitely interesting to watch this and see how much is very different from, Halloween 6. It's a totally different, just third act in a way, and I find that very interesting because it's like 2 separate movies. So, yeah, I just don't really care for it, though. I prefer the original cut, but whatever. Then we have Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Picked this up by accident, honestly. I wanted to pick up Halloween 1, and I grabbed this one, not even paying attention to the number 2 on there, and didn't even realize it. The cover, I just thought, oh, this is Halloween, and I really just was not paying attention, so I grabbed this, but, that's not an issue because I didn't own this movie, and I did want to complete my Halloween franchise as well, and the reason I was kind of disappointed is because I remembered not liking Halloween 2 all that much, but upon rewatch, I actually really enjoy Halloween 2 because it feels a lot more like a Rob Zombie film than trying too hard to be a Halloween film. I know a lot of people hate this because of what they did with Michael Myers and how they kind of ruined who he was in the original movies and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, this is Rob Zombie's take on it, and I find it to be very, very interesting, and definitely one that I will start to rewatch more around Halloween time because, I kind of gained more appreciation for it. It does have things to it that I don't like in it still, but in general, I think it's a pretty solid film. Next up, we have Hatchet 2 here, which is signed by Adam Green. One of my favorite experiences ever. I got to see Victor Crowley in theaters, and Adam Green was, presenting it. He did that at a lot of theaters throughout the States, and I thought that was very, very cool of him, and we all got to go up and meet him and get his signature if we wanted to, so I got him to sign Hatchet 2 here, and I really enjoy the Hatchet movies. I can never really say which one is my favorite. I do enjoy Hatchet 2 a lot, but when I think of all the Hatchet movies, they almost kind of run together so much in my head that it's really hard for me to pick a favorite, but I think I rate Hatchet 2 a solid 8 or 8.5, so I really do enjoy this one. It's just, in general, I love all the movies almost equally. Then we have Hatchet 3 here. Really like Hatchet 3 as well. Pretty solid stuff. Like I just said, it's really hard. This is the rare franchise now, I guess it would be, because there's 4 films where I actually like the films almost entirely equally. I would say probably part 4 is maybe the weakest out of all of them, but I still enjoy it quite a bit. But Hatchet 3, another pretty solid one. A lot of people say this is the best one. Not sure if I agree with that necessarily. I might actually like Hatchet 2 a little bit more than this one, but in general, I really like all these movies. Next up, we have A Haunted House. Yes, I picked these up at a Cash and Culture a while back, a couple months ago, because I was curious to rewatch this movie because I was very disappointed in it when I saw it in theaters, and I thought maybe it's because I was a little bit younger when I saw it. When did this come out? I probably wasn't even actually that young. I'm probably totally lying right now. I was probably a teenager, but you know, it's one of those instances where I saw this with my mom, and it was kind of awkward to watch because there's a lot of, you know, sex scenes and very inappropriate stuff going on in it, and in general, I did not find it to be all that funny, and I thought it was going to be hilarious because the Wayans brothers were behind it, and I love the first Scary Movie, but did not care for it. Upon rewatch, I liked it even less. So, you know, that just kind of proves the point that this movie's not all that great. I know some people do like this and find the humor to be pretty well done, but for me, I just do not care for this movie all that much at all, unfortunately. And then lastly for this part, we have A Haunted House 2. You know, picked this up the same day I got part 1 because I had never actually seen part 2, and I actually liked part 2 a little bit more, surprisingly. There were actually moments that did make me laugh more so than the first one, but in general, I just don't think it's that solid of a parody movie. I don't know. I think it's just maybe the content, you know, trying to make fun of the Paranormal Activity movies just doesn't really work all that well or something, and I feel like they're trying a little too hard, but yeah, so unfortunately, don't really care for either of these movies all that much. That is it for this part, guys. Thank you once again for joining me, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time for part number 13.